I just finished watching the third season of Demon Slayer, and today we are going to be talking about it. And by the way, spoiler warning, I'm going to be talking about everything that happened in this season because, guys, it was fantastic. I absolutely loved it, and I had no clue that the internet was hating on it. And I was like all hyped up about it, and then I was going to look up some reviews afterwards because I like doing that after I watch a series. I like hearing other people's thoughts, and I was like, people don't like this? What? I was completely shocked because I absolutely loved it. We're going to talk about Demon Slayer Season 3 in just a second. Before we do, though, I do want to say hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with too many YouTube channels. Let's talk about the season. So, because on this channel, I haven't uploaded my thoughts on Season 1, Season 2, guys. If you want to skip a couple minutes, it's no big deal. I'm just going to give my general thoughts on it, okay? So, it was suggested to me by a friend initially, and then it was like a rocky start with the first couple episodes. I was like, oh my god, this is so boring. But then it picked up. Season 1 of Demon Slayer was absolutely phenomenal. Honestly, just after that first season, it's one of my favorite shows of all time. Top 5 for sure. 100%. That and Attack on Titan's up there. Like, oh my god. And with this third season, to be honest with you, this could, like, I don't know how the fourth season or the fifth season, I think there's 1 or 2 seasons planned left. This could very well be my favorite series of all time. I like it for the same reasons that everybody else does. It's beautiful. The story's very nice. Every character, like, it hits you in the feels. You know what I mean? So, season 1, I absolutely loved. Was a big fan immediately. After that, we got the Train movie, and that was one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. Season 2 was even better than the first one. It was even better, okay? I could make a whole video talking about that. And Season 3, I loved pretty much just as much. So that was my history with Demon Slayer. If I had to rank it so far, I would go Season 2 was the best. And if you want to continue the train, I don't know if you can continue, like, include the movie. But anyways, if you want to talk about the seasons. So, Season 2, Season 3, then Season 1. That's how I look at it. That's my rankings. I absolutely loved this whole season. So, let's talk about it. Let's talk about what happened through the season. So, the initial episode started off with, we finally got to see all the demons in that, like, weird place. I don't know if it was a house or a dimension or whatever it was, but it was really, really cool to see because it's been teased to us before. Either it's been teased or we've seen, like, glimpses of it. So we actually got to see, like, the rest of the demons that were out there. And I was like, oh, this is very interesting. And I was actually shocked to learn that there's only going to be 1 or 2 more seasons of this because I thought, like, how this was going to go was each season would have, like, their one particular demon. So, like, if this next season is going to close things out and we just have to like, every single one of them is going to come in, that's going to be absolutely wild. So the main baddie of the movie is real pissed off. He was real pissed off because obviously Tanjiro and the gang ended up killing an upper rank demon. So we got he assigned one of them to go to the Swordsmith Village arc because apparently that's where they were going, or I believe that's what it was. But then another demon wanted to go along with them, so they went on and they were going to attack the Swordsmith Village. It was very easy. There you go. We got introduced to all the demons, and it was interesting to see them go, like, kind of against each other. It's like not all of them liked each other, and I'm very interested to see, by the way, that dude that fought the guy with the red hair. I want to see him come back because I know Tanjiro wanted to, like, really, really get it on with him. You know what I mean? So that's going to be a very, very fun finale to see. I'm glad he's alive and they're actually building that up. So then we meet up with our main characters and Tanjiro and the gang. And I was actually, like, really, really surprised to see, first of all, that the other two guys, like, I apologize, guys. It's hard for me to remember the anime names. I don't know why, but Zenitsu, the Thunder guy, and the Boarhead guy, they were completely absent this season. And initially, I was like, okay, that's a little weird. I thought this was going to be, like, the main trio, and I didn't know how I felt about that right away, with the exception being Zenitsu because he's constantly crying, and, like, sometimes I like him and sometimes I don't. I just think, like, they overdo his character just a little bit. So initially, I didn't know how to feel. But it ended up working out perfectly fine. I actually enjoyed the break that we got from him, and I hope next season that they come back together and they can all fight together. Maybe they'll all be more powerful or something, but they were just like, okay, they're healed up, they're going on their own separate adventures. You know what I mean? So again, the main characters are starting to go to the village, and Tanjiro needs a new sword. It's a swordsmith village, and it's pretty self-explanatory there. So there we are introduced to 2 new Hashiras, that one being the Love Hashira and the one being the Mist Hashira. And I gotta say, I didn't really love the Love one, but I know how much that makes sense, but I didn't really love her, maybe just because she wasn't fleshed out enough, or I don't know. It's just, there wasn't something where I wasn't nearly as connected to her as the past ones that we've seen, especially Rengoku, especially him. That was probably the best one. And I feel like that so far, everybody can kind of agree on. I could be wrong about that, but it seems like that whole movie was really, really hyped up. Everybody seemed to love it, right? But I don't know. To be honest with you, the Love Hashira kind of annoyed me a little bit. I think she was just a little too loud, and I think it's like the typical like anime show type girl. You know what I mean? That's probably why I didn't really like her that much. It was the same thing kind of annoyed me when I was watching Fire Force. Like sometimes I found it funny, sometimes I didn't. But still, at the end of the day, like there was absolutely no connection. However, I wasn't sure what to think about the Mist Hashira when he first appeared. And to be honest with you, I thought he was a chick first, but it turns out it was a guy. But then as they progressed his story and as they gave him like so much attention, maybe that was the problem with the Love Hashira, where she didn't get nearly as much attention as the Mist Hashira, and I really, really built a connection to him. I loved the development of the character. He seemed like he was just kind of reminded me of Shadow the Hedgehog, to be honest with you. I really, really like the direction they took with him, and I hope he becomes a main character in the whole little gang that comes in next season. So the Mist Hashira, I loved. The Love Hashira, I didn't care for. It's not like I didn't really, I wasn't annoyed when she was there, but like it was just like she was a little much, you know what I mean? That was the big problem. But anyways, so moving on, before we get into these big fights, we have the whole episode where Tanjiro has to fight the dummy. They find the sword, and then very long story short, Tanjiro, he has a sword there after fighting the dummy, and he needed to get all like cracked up. You need to fix the sword. So there's a sword that gives him special powers. He hasn't gone to use it yet, but then the demons show up. The demons show up, and there were two demons, of course, that we've already seen before. One that was like crying a lot, and the other one being the vase demon. I kind of have the same feeling towards these demons where I kind of have with just the new Hashiras that were there. I've seen a lot of people complaining about both of them and how they seem underpowered. And while it's kind of true, like definitely the ones from last season were way, way more powerful, at least it seemed to be. But I would like to think of it as like Tanjiro is just getting way stronger, because obviously I think he's getting stronger, right? As the season progresses, I think he's getting way stronger. Maybe that's like the direction that they're going. I'm not too sure, but that's what I'm kind of chalking it up to. But anyways, so the crying guy, the little one, I had no problem with him. I thought he was great. I thought everything about that was fantastic. I also liked the vase guy, but not nearly as much. But that's probably, again, just like we saw with the Love Hashira, where they just didn't probably give him enough attention. If that's what I'm guessing, that's a problem. But I had like absolutely no issue with it. I was still engaged, like the Miss Hashira versus that guy, and then I was super, super engaged in Tanjiro's story, of course. Like I just love following Tanjiro wherever he goes. So they kind of like split up. I'll start with the vase. I'll start with the vase versus the Miss Hashira. They start fighting, and it was a lot of internal battle with the Miss Hashira. So through this fight, we kind of gotten to see his backstory, and this is something that Demon Slayer does so well. They really make us connect to the characters. They really make us feel. And what I liked about it is this demon was, and this is something that I like about Demon Slayer, like in general, the villains, while you can connect with them and understand them, at the end of the day, they are just so evil. You know what I mean? It's not like a guy like they try to make Thanos like a good guy. You know what I mean? They just kind of like give a background explanation why these people are cruel. So at the end of the day, you have no problem with it. You know what I mean? And that's what I really like. You really want to see these guys die. Like in particular, when he was showing off his art. The vase guy was all showing off his art, and then it was just all these like broken people in a little stack. You know what I mean? So, and then he's like, oh, you can make the art dance, and he shoved the sword in it and like twisted it around, and the guys started going on. So then you start like really feeling, and this is what Demon Slayer does so well, man. So well, where I'm like, oh, this guy needs to die, man. That's just horrible. This guy needs to die. So they start fighting a little bit. They're teleporting the vase here and there, you know what I mean? And then he traps the Miss Hashira in this little bubble. And then, to be honest with you, because he's a Hashira, I wasn't sure if they were going to end up killing this guy off, because again, he's a little bit new, and I was kind of thinking like something along the lines that they do with Rengoku. We've seen characters die, we've seen characters not die. So I really wasn't sure, and that's what I like about Demon Slayer. I wasn't sure what's going to happen. Same with Nezuko, just like at the end of the episode. We'll get to that, because that was brilliant, that entire episode. But anyways, I really like the way that they handle him, where he's like, people are trying to get him out. You have a lot of situations. They keep going back and forth with him. So he's always in the back of your head, and he's essentially just drowning. But very long story short, he ends up finding his way out of it. And then he has a great moment where he just slashes that dude up. And of course, like there was a lot more going on within the fight, where like the vase guy was all distracted by the guy with the sword. You know what I mean? This is where I saw a lot of people also criticizing, where it's like, wow, this guy couldn't even really hurt a swordsmith, where it's like, I just looked at it and I didn't care. You know, I just didn't care. I was just enjoying the fight as it was. But very long story short, the Miss Hashira ends up slashing him and then tries to meet up with the other guys. But now the other fight was absolutely incredible. And this is something that I loved about Demon Slayer. I don't know about you guys, okay? I would imagine most people don't agree with me. In general, one of the reasons why I love, like, for example, like Transformers 3. I am so easy to please when it comes to action. Like, just give me a lot of action, blow stuff up, have people fight, and I'm happy. Demon Slayer does that, but it also makes you like, I don't think there's been a show where I've like felt more. You know what I mean? Felt sad, felt like angry for people, felt like anything that happened, like whether I was happy, sad, you know what I mean? I don't think there's ever been a show that like legitimately like made me have like so many outward emotions while I was watching it. And that's what Demon Slayer did so well. On top of that, I did not expect this entire season. What was it, like 2 episodes? And then the rest was just a big, long battle. So I was thinking initially when these two showed up, oh, there'd be 1 or 2 episodes, they'd take care of them, and then we get maybe another demon at the end of the season. So that didn't happen at all. And I was actually very happy to see that. So Tanjiro, so how we figured it out was there was these little guy who was running around and crying, and then he separates his 4 emotions, and they figured out you can separate them. They'll separate a little bit more, and then they'll get a little bit weaker, but it ends up being the 4 different emotions. And it was actually like a very interesting way to have people fight against our main characters. And that's what another thing that like the writing for this, whoever came up with the concept for this is fantastic, because every single demon that we fought so far is incredibly thought out. It's original. It's something we've never seen before, and it's different stakes. So we have Tanjiro, Nezuko, and what's his face? I had to look it up. Genya. Again, I have a problem with these shows' names, man. But we have Nezuko, Tanjiro, and Genya fighting all against them. And I was a little bit confused about Genya. Please, if you have an explanation for me, I didn't want to look anything up because I didn't want to get spoiled. But I don't know if we're supposed to know or if this is something that I missed. I don't get why Genya is like a demon. I don't know if he's a demon or if he's not, because there was one point in the fight where he had like holes all over himself and then he was all healed up. I don't know if he has some special healing power. I don't know what's going on with him, and I don't understand it. If there's something that I missed, I would appreciate it if you guys could comment down below and fill me in on that. But I don't want to know if it's still mystery. I don't want to know if it's something about the books that we haven't seen in the show. I don't want to know if it's something that we're going to be seeing in season 4. I don't want to know if we're not supposed to know. If it's just something that I missed in the show, I would appreciate it if somebody could update me in the comments down below. So thank you very much. But anyways, I loved it, man. I loved this whole fight. There's not a lot to talk about, like, what exactly happened, because it was a really long, drawn out fight where it's like, okay, they were taking on one at a time. Tanjiro was with the flying guy, and they kept getting separated. They came together. There were times where Tanjiro got knocked out. There was times where Nezuko came in and saved the day. It was just pretty much like one really beautiful looking fight scene. And the tension just kept rising and rising and rising and rising. And went all the way until eventually the 4 demons came together and made this like new character that was just like even more powerful than all of them. And he was really cool in himself. So they were trying to fight this guy off while Tanjiro was finally trying to figure out where the main body was. And this is what I really, really loved. And I really like this demon. I was shocked to see that people didn't like this demon. Okay, I was shocked because I thought it was great where he's like, and this is something that I really like to see in the character development from Tanjiro, because there's been so many times where I don't know if you guys would agree with me on this, but Tanjiro is one of those guys where it's like, oh my god, he's so nice. He feels so bad for these demons. I'm like, how could you possibly feel bad for these guys? But you finally see him snap a little bit when the demon was like, oh, how could you pick on something that little small, something crying and something running away from you? And then he's like, don't you dare. Like, you could see like a new flare in his eyes. You know what I mean? He was like, don't you dare play the victim card. Look at you. Look how many people you slaughtered. Look what you did. There's no excusing it, and I will execute you. I loved seeing that character develop from Tanjiro, and I love that he is breaking a little bit in that sense where he's like, okay, we are finishing this. This guy cannot hurt any people anymore. That's why he became a Hashira to fix Nezuko, but also at the same time, or he's not a Hashira yet, is he? Regardless, it doesn't even matter. He was just on a mission to behead that demon. I absolutely loved the chase there. It was beautiful. The guy kept getting away. Then Tanjiro kept on being unable to actually slash him, but then after all, like a bunch of different chase scenes, after a bunch of different fights, we end up with the final episode, and oh my god, man. Oh my god, that was absolutely incredible. Every single little step of the way. So, there was one point when he was chasing the crying demon, and then something that I did really like, and something that I didn't see coming, was Tanjiro used the ability to have thunder breathing. I've seen people also complaining about that, and I was like, I thought that was just cool. It seems like he's just gonna be a special kind of demon slayer. You know what I mean? He's the main character, but people were like, I've been seeing people talk about where it's like, oh, well, he just pulls moves out of his butt, and then this is what the show's becoming. But I don't look at it that way. I just look at it as hype, where it's like all of a sudden he's running past the other guys chasing him. I thought it was awesome. I really did. So I like that while the character wasn't there, he was able to use that new ability, and I hope that he could I don't know what kind of benefit he would have to using beast breathing, but I would like to see him use that in the next season. You know what I mean? I think that would be really cool to see. So like I was initially talking about, they find themselves in that open area and they find themselves finally becoming daylight. The night is finally almost over after all that fighting. He finally, after using the new sword, he finally is able to behead that demon, but then they figure out that the demon is still chasing after those 4 people. The demon hasn't disintegrated yet. The demon is still alive. He's still going for those people. While the demon still will die, he is going to sacrifice like 3 or 4 people. It's still going to go after that, but at the same time, the sun is coming up, and he has to protect Nezuko. The whole reason why he was doing all of this was to turn Nezuko into a human again. And he started covering her, and this is where the big whole dilemma came. Everybody else was hurt. There was nothing he can do. Tanjiro was stuck there, and he had to make a choice. And to be honest with you, I wasn't sure what he was going to do. I kept thinking to myself, like, no, he's got to choose Nezuko. He's got to choose Nezuko. Like, what's he going to do? And I thought, like, my prediction was he was just going to cover her, and then it was going to be like this really, really sad moment where, like, you can't always win. But of course, then Nezuko booted him off of her after, like, and this is like, they really let us sit on the feeling. You know what I mean? This is what I love about Demon Slayer. They let us sit on it. So Nezuko ends up booting him off. Tanjiro ends up going and then taking care of things. He ended up slaying the demon. You know what I mean? So at this point, I wasn't sure if Nezuko was going to make it. I really wasn't, because initially I was like, okay, something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. There's no way they kill her off. But I was thinking, like, I don't know. Like, we've seen some, like, pretty horrible things happen in Demon Slayer. What if, like, she dies and then gets resurrected again? I was thinking, like, she would come back somehow, but I wasn't entirely sure if she was going to make it out of that. I thought Nezuko was going to sacrifice herself, and it was going to be like this really, really big sad moment after that. I thought, like we saw in the movie, we were about to lose somebody. And that's where I was kind of at. Initially, I was like, no way. There's no way they get rid of Nezuko. But as they kept getting sadder and kept hitting harder, and the moment kept getting bigger, I thought that we were going to lose Nezuko at that point. I really did. And Tanjiro ended up, of course, worrying about it. He couldn't make it back to Nezuko in time. And I was like, okay, someone else covered her. I don't know what to think. But I was initially on the side of like, is she really gone? Is she? I don't know if many people bought that, but I was kind of buying it. I didn't know what to think for the most part, but I was ultimately thinking at that point where it's like, we could be losing Nezuko here. And I don't know where the series is going to go there. Maybe he would just go on a new vengeance and just take care of the rest of all of them. You know what I mean? So that's what my mind was going into, like, so many places at once. And again, they let us sit on it. But then we figured out she can conquer the sun. I was so confused at first because I was like, okay, the whole point is to have her become a human again. And she didn't look human. At first she did, but then she like, Tanjiro, I'm good. And then I was a little bit, I think that's because she was a demon. I don't think that's because she was a kid. I'm not entirely sure, because if she's like 12 or however old she is, she can speak fluently. You know what I mean? That's probably the demon. But then I was confused too, because she still had her fangs. So I didn't know if she was a demon or not, or if she was turned into human. I was ultimately just like really, really confused. So it turns out that, of course, she can conquer the sun. And that leads us to our next part, where the big baddie figured out that I don't know how he figured it out, or I guess he can look upon all demons or something. I don't really know, but we get a little bit of his backstory, which is very nice. And he's been looking for a reason to conquer the sun, and all he has to do is consume this demon with the new powers. And that is going to build us up to season 4, I guess, where, oh man, she's going to be in big, big trouble this next season, because they're probably going to go all out in hunting her. And that's going to be a very, very fun thing to watch. So it ended on a little bit of a cliffhanger, a little bit not, because the season ended very nicely with like everybody thanking Tanjiro, and then he was like going by and then waving to everybody, you know what I mean? But man, that whole final episode was insane. I don't know what my favorite episode was, like out of the entirety of Demon Slayer, but that was certainly up there. In the moment, it's funny because in the moment where Tanjiro was trying to make that decision, they really let it sit, where he's like, I don't know what to do. I can't make a choice. If that was me in a situation, I'd be like, I wouldn't like think twice about it. I'd be like, well, can't do anything. Got to protect my sister. You know what I mean? I don't care if it's the entire village going down. I don't care if it's the entire world going down. Whether it's choosing some random people or choosing my sister, I would choose my sister without question. I could care less if half the country was dying. I choose to save my sister. But I guess that like goes to show like the heart that Tanjiro has in this show, right? Where he just wants to like do the best and he wants to save everybody. But the whole reason was there for his sister. I was like, he's got to save his sister, right? But then even like if I was in that spot and like I got kicked off where it's like, okay, even she gave the okay to go save those other 4 people, I'd be running back like, no, don't burn them. I'm sticking around here. Like that is ridiculous. Why would you think I would go save those other people? You know what I mean? So that's what I was kind of sitting on. But like that entire last episode and the entire last scene was absolutely phenomenal. Every single little thing about it. Again, I don't know if it might be my favorite episode of Demon Slayer. Certainly this was a great season. That's all I have to say. Oh, but I'm thinking like the finale of season 2 too, and even the finale of season 1, like everything about the show is spectacular. Whether it's the art, the feelings, the production, the story. I love it all. I love every single little character. I love what they do. And I cannot believe that people are hyping this and saying that this was a step back. If anything, like, don't get me wrong, I probably like the second season more than season 3. If not, it was close. But people are acting like online where it's like, this is a huge step back for Demon Slayer. And people were disappointed. I was like, how is that possible? It still carried the same kind of thing. I loved it. I thought it was phenomenal. And I absolutely cannot wait for season 4 of Demon Slayer. So this is where I'll leave it up to you guys. If you have seen why would you be watching this if you haven't seen it? But guys, let me know your thoughts on season 3 down below. And please, I'm asking you, I haven't read the books and I don't want to know what happens in the books. Please don't spoil anything for me. I would really appreciate it because this is one of my favorite shows of all time. And I really, really cannot wait to see. But I want to go into this completely blind, what I'm going into right now. So I would appreciate it if you could keep it spoiler free. But let's talk about season 3, talk about anything that happened before. And thank you so much for watching this video, everybody. If you want to continue watching the Clenema channel, there'll be 2 videos on for you on screen right now. You can check them out, or you can check the description down below to check out any of my other YouTube channels. I'm your guy with too many YouTube channels after all. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I will see you either there or in the next video. Take care.